If you've tried everything, the meditation apps, the sleep supplements, the morning walks, and you still wake up at 3 a.m. with your heart pounding, if your belly keeps growing no matter how clean you eat, if you're so exhausted you can barely function, but somehow you can't sleep, I need you to hear this right now. It is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is not in your head. Your body is chemically stuck, and the reason has nothing to do with willpower. It has everything to do with one hormone that most doctors completely misread on a standard blood test. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to eat your way out of this. Not vague, eat healthy advice. 5 specific, science-backed foods that literally press the off switch on your body's alarm system. And I'm going to show you something most health creators won't admit. You can't think your way out of a physiological stress response, but you can eat your way out. Let me show you how. Before I get into this, if you're new here, hit subscribe and ring that bell. I put out videos every week on getting your hormones, sleep, and energy working for you again. You don't want to miss what's coming next. And if you've been dealing with any of what I just described, go ahead and tap like right now. It tells me this kind of content is helping you, and it helps more people like you find this video. If you have 3 of these symptoms, your cortisol is likely dangerously high. Before we get to the solutions, I need to make sure we're talking about you, not a vague, stressed person. You. Here are the signs that your cortisol is the real culprit, and most people chalk these up to aging or stress or just how I am now. Hot flashes and night sweats that destroy your sleep, even if you're not menopausal, heart palpitations out of nowhere or sudden dizziness that makes the room spin, gut issues, chronic bloating, constipation, or unexplained cramping after meals, cold hands and feet even when everyone around you is warm, that tired but wired feeling, dead on your feet all day but somehow wide awake at 2 a.m. with a racing mind, belly weight that will not budge no matter how much you exercise, memory and focus that feel like they belong to a completely different person?
These aren't separate problems. These are symptoms, and they have a single common driver. All of these symptoms trace back to one hormone. That driver is chronically elevated cortisol, and what makes this so sneaky is that your doctor's blood test is probably missing it completely. I'll explain exactly why in a moment, but first, what is cortisol actually doing inside your body to create this much chaos? Here is what's happening inside your body right now, and it might shock you. Cortisol is produced by what we call the HPA axis, your hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal glands. Think of it as your body's emergency command center. Now here's the part that changes everything, and it's the part most people get completely wrong. Your body does not distinguish between a work deadline and a chronic gut infection. It doesn't know the difference between a difficult teenager and a hidden immune system battle happening in your bloodstream. To your HPA axis, all of that is one signal, threat, and so it keeps pumping out cortisol, not for a few hours, for months, for years. When that happens, here's what cortisol does to your body. It becomes inflammatory, breaking down tissue instead of building it. It suppresses your immune system, so you get sick more easily and heal slowly. It raises your blood glucose, pushing you towards insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. It scrambles your brain chemistry, causing a type of depression that has nothing to do with serotonin. It destroys your sleep architecture, flipping your entire sleep-wake cycle upside down. This is why you feel like you've aged 10 years in 2. And here's the bombshell that your doctor is probably not telling you about your lab results. If you've had your cortisol tested and were told everything looks normal, that test was almost certainly wrong, not because your doctor is careless, because a single blood draw is just a snapshot. Cortisol changes dramatically throughout the day, high in the morning to wake you up, crashing by evening so you can sleep. A random blood draw tells you nothing about your actual pattern.
The gold standard test is something called the Dutch Adrenal test. It measures your cortisol metabolites in urine across a full day. It shows total production, not just the free cortisol snapshot. But right now, let's talk about what you came here for, the food. Before I give you the 5 foods, I need to give you the framework, because without this, you'll just have a grocery list. With this, you'll understand why it works. We're not just picking healthy foods at random. To chemically lower cortisol, we need 4 very specific nutritional pillars. Think of these as the 4 locks, and the 5 foods I'm about to give you are the keys. Pillar 1, healthy fats, especially omega-3s. Fat is not the enemy. Fat stabilizes blood sugar, and stable blood sugar is the single most powerful thing you can do to stop those cortisol spikes and crashes. Pillar 2, magnesium. This mineral is scientifically proven to calm the fight-or-flight response. It is also essential for deep sleep, and sleep is when your HPA axis finally gets a chance to reset. Pillar 3, polyphenols. These plant compounds fight oxidative stress and systemic inflammation. Specific ones, called flavonoids, can actually modulate serotonin and dopamine. That's why you feel better emotionally when you eat certain foods, not just physically. Pillar 4, fiber. Your gut microbiome converts fiber into short-chain fatty acids. A 2020 randomized controlled trial showed that a single dose of these compounds measurably lowered participants' cortisol response to stress. Your gut health determines how your body handles pressure. Full stop. Number 1, and this one genuinely surprised me when I saw the clinical data, is green tea. It's not just antioxidants. Green tea works on cortisol through 3 completely separate mechanisms simultaneously. Mechanism 1, L-theanine. Within 20 minutes of drinking green tea, this amino acid begins actively lowering cortisol, not helping you relax, measurably lowering the hormone. Mechanism 2, EGCG. This specific compound blocks the enzyme that converts inactive cortisone into active stress-producing cortisol. It's like cutting the wire on the alarm. Mechanism 3, polyphenols, anti-inflammatory effect that lowers oxidative stress system-wide. The clinical proof: women with moderate chronic stress who drank just 1.5 grams of green tea powder daily, that's 1 mug, for 12 weeks saw significant reductions in stress, blood glucose, and cortisol levels, and their melatonin went up. Less stressed, sleeping better, from a cup of tea. Food number 2 is one most people already have in their fridge, but they don't know it's literally working like medicine for their adrenal glands. Fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, the best direct sources of omega-3 fatty acids on the planet. Here's the research that hit me hard.
A double-blind study on nurses with clinical burnout, people who were genuinely at the wall, found that omega-3 supplementation significantly reduced burnout symptoms and lowered their morning cortisol levels. Morning cortisol is the most critical reading. It sets the hormonal tone for your entire day. A second study on teenagers with depression showed that 12 weeks of omega-3s measurably brought morning cortisol back down. Why does this work? Omega-3 fatty acids are literal brain food. They reduce the neuroinflammation that keeps the HPA axis in overdrive. They tell your adrenal glands the emergency is over, stand down. 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week. That's all it takes to get the benefit. Food number 3 is something you can grab from any gas station, but most people eat it wrong. I'll show you the exact amount that changes your brain chemistry. Food number 3, almonds and pistachios. And these two work through completely different pathways. Almonds. Monounsaturated fats stabilize blood glucose, cutting off cortisol spikes at the source. 270 milligrams of magnesium per 100 grams, directly calming your fight-or-flight response. Vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant that protects your neurological system from the damage that chronic cortisol causes. This is regenerative, not just preventative. Pistachios, rich in vitamin B6. Your brain needs B6 to synthesize GABA, the neurotransmitter that puts the brakes on anxiety. No B6, no GABA. No GABA, no calm. Anthocyanins and carotenoids have been clinically proven to reduce the oxidative stress linked to chronic anxiety. The beautiful thing about nuts is that a small handful, literally 30 grams, delivers measurable levels of all of these compounds. Food number 4 is for my plant-based viewers, and this one has research behind it that I genuinely wish more people knew about. Quick question for you. Drop it in the comments right now. Which of these 3 foods do you already eat regularly? Green tea, fatty fish, or nuts? I read every single comment, and I want to know where you're starting from. It'll help me make the next video even more useful for you. And if you have a friend or family member who's been exhausted for months and can't figure out why, please send them this video. Most people suffering from high cortisol have no idea that's what's happening. You could literally change someone's life by sharing this right now. Food number 4, avocado. Avocado, and I'm going to say something that might sound dramatic, but it's backed by the research. Avocado is arguably the most complete single cortisol-lowering food that exists. Here's why. It hits all 4 of our pillars at once. Healthy fats, blood sugar stability, stops cortisol spikes. Magnesium calms HPA axis, supports sleep. Polyphenols, anti-inflammatory, lowers oxidative stress. Fiber feeds gut microbiome, short-chain fatty acids, lower stress response. Plus, and this is the detail that most people miss, research specifically shows that avocado oil protects cells against the secondary inflammation caused by high cortisol. It doesn't just stop the fire, it repairs the damage. Half an avocado daily, in a salad, on toast, as guacamole, however you enjoy it. Food number 5 is the one everyone wants to hear about. And yes, it's real, but the catch is important. Stay with me. Food number 5, dark chocolate. And yes,
This is real medicine, but the catch is important. It must be 70 to 85% cacao. Anything lower is mostly sugar, which spikes blood glucose and raises cortisol. You'd be making things worse, not better.
At 70 to 85%, 1 ounce gives you 65 milligrams of magnesium, high polyphenol content that directly boosts endorphins, your body's natural feel-good chemicals, and a measurable effect on your cortisol to cortisone ratio, which tells us how well your body is managing its stress response. The clinical proof: participants who ate approximately 1 ounce of high polyphenol dark chocolate daily for 4 weeks showed significant reductions in total daily cortisol, morning cortisol, and their cortisol to cortisone ratio. This is not a treat, this is targeted hormonal intervention. But here is what nobody is telling you about how long this actually takes to work. Here's what I need you to understand, because this is where most people fall off. These foods are powerful, but they are long-term architecture, not overnight fixes. The clinical trials I mentioned were 4 weeks, 12 weeks. That's the timeline you're working with for full hormonal recalibration. But here's the bigger issue that I need to address. If you've been feeling like this for months or years, food alone may not be enough. You need to know what's actually happening in your body. And the only way to know, not guess, know, is to test. And here's the thing about standard cortisol testing that nobody talks about in a mainstream doctor's office. Unless your levels are so extreme that they suggest a rare disease like Cushing's or Addison's, a standard blood draw won't tell you what's really going on. Why? Because it's a snapshot. Cortisol changes every hour. What you need is a full day picture. That's exactly what the Dutch adrenal test provides. It's an at-home urine test that measures your free cortisol across the day, your total cortisol production, the number most standard tests miss, your cortisol to cortisone conversion efficiency, your DHEA levels, the adrenal hormone that directly affects your reproductive hormones. I have seen patients with completely normal free cortisol whose total production was dangerously high. The Dutch test would have caught it. A blood draw wouldn't. I've linked the test in the description. I also help people interpret their results and build a personalized plan. We work with people all over the world on this. You didn't end up exhausted, foggy, and anxious because you're weak. You ended up here because something in your body kept sending distress signals, and nobody helped you find the source. The 5 foods I've given you today are your starting point. Green tea, L-theanine, and EGCG cortisol block. Satay fish, omega-3s that tell your adrenals to stand down. Almonds and pistachios, magnesium plus GABA synthesis. Avocado, all 4 pillars in one food. Dark chocolate, 70 to 85%, polyphenols plus endorphins plus cortisol ratio reset. Start with 2 or 3 this week. Track how you feel over the next month. One more thing. If this video helped you, or if you recognized yourself in those symptoms, please share it with someone you care about who needs to hear this. Because too many people are suffering through this alone, thinking it's just how they are now. It's not just how you are. It's your chemistry, and chemistry can change. I'll see you in the next one. If you haven't subscribed yet,
Now is the time. Every week, I bring you research-backed strategies to get your hormones, your sleep, and your energy working for you again. Hit subscribe so you never miss it. I'll see you in the next one.